Welcome to Frontiers and Frontlines, and I'm your guide, Sam. What you just watched is American airmen over Europe, packed into freezing aluminum tubes at 25,000 feet. Where the flak's so thick you could walk on it, and the only thing between you and a long drop is a 1/4 inch of riveted steel and a prayer you stopped meaning years ago.
Just drop him, Val! Shut up!
This here's 10 pictures I've actually sat through, and I rank them the only way they ever counted. Not by how pretty they are, but how hard they hit. All right, let's light them up. Captains of the Clouds ain't quite an American in Europe story, and it ain't quite a combat picture either. It's James Cagney playing a Canadian bush pilot in glorious Technicolor.
Don't try to fly through the woods, fly over them!
And this here is number 10 because it's the before picture. Americans flying their way towards a war that wasn't officially theirs yet. Ferrying unarmed bombers across the Atlantic with the Luftwaffe waiting on the far end. It came out right after Pearl Harbor, and it turned overnight from a get ready picture into a let's go picture.
We're not gonna hold still for that, are we, Scrounger?
Now, the production, it was a flat out nightmare. Warner Brothers, they shipped like 80 people and $500,000 of color equipment up into the Ontario bush, and the Hollywood crowd, well, they ended up sleeping in army barracks, eating army chow, which from their point of view, completely screwed the pooch.
I'm out, you hear? I'm out. Now, you look like a nice young fella, so take my advice and keep away from the Air Force, you hear me? Keep away from the Air Force.
Cagney himself fell off a seaplane pontoon and cracked his head clean open. He even got a concussion for the trouble. And then he found out afterwards that the engine never needed to be running for the shot. He risked his skull for nothing. That'll humble a movie star pretty darn quick.
I want to be there for the bang when you land your first load of nitro. I'll pack my stuff.
You're sure you're strong enough?
But the bit I'll carry to my grave, it's Billy Bishop. Real deal Canadian flying ace, top of the heap from the First War, and he agreed to play himself giving a graduation speech while Cagney buzzes the field. Trouble is, you can't really fly a plane 50 feet over a crowd of extras without making some widows. So they shot the air and the ground separate, which means Canada's greatest living war hero had to stand on an empty tarmac and act madder than a wet hen at a completely empty sky. This one earns its medals as a time capsule. Just to let you know before the comments fill up, this is not David Carradine deal with cars running folks over for points, but it's close. This here's a 1973 ABC Movie of the Week, and just to be honest with you, it's barely a flying picture at all, which is exactly why it tickles me.
No, don't, sir, they're surrendering! Get away from me!
We're surrendering, Dad!
Here's the whole movie. A P-40 gets shot up over North African desert, can't get airborne anymore, but the engine still turns. So the rest of the picture is a fighter plane driving across the sand like a hot rod with its wings still on, being chased by a tank.
Stop and take sure aim!
And yeah, that's the whole film. Somebody out there pitched, what if the plane couldn't fly but had to keep going? And a network man said, yeah, let's do that.
We're losing Cohen! I guess you know what that means.
It means we don't run the engine again unless we have to.
You got it.
And the tank chasing it, it's not a German anything. It's actually an American Sherman with plywood bolted all over it to look like an Afrika Korps armor, which fools exactly nobody who's seen a tank. But bless their hearts for trying. That right there is a scrappy hustle I'm always going to tip my hat to. What makes the behind the scenes better than the script, it's the man at the controls, Frank Tallman. He was one of the great stunt pilots, and he was throwing that crippled Warhawk around the desert on a single leg. Because he lost a leg in a go-kart wreck years before, and he just kept right on flying. So that's the real story. A one-legged legend is wrestling a fighter plane through the sand while a plywood tank gives chase. God bless him.
By giving you a purpose. That plane. Beyond that hill, that plane is our purpose. And when we have finished with that, we will find another purpose, and another, and another, and another.
Now here's something you're going to want to remember, because it's going to come back around again a little later in the video. There's a piece of film in this picture, a B-17, bellying in on the grass, gear up, slide into a stop in a cloud of dust. And you're going to see that again later on this very list. You just hold that thought right there. The 1,000-plane raid is Christopher George as a colonel chewing on one big idea. He wants to throw 1,000 bombers at a single German fighter factory and end the thing in one big swing.
Hit one of Germany's most important industrial targets. A massive daylight assault. A precision attack. Destroy it totally.
And in his film, he fights his own brass, he fights the Brits, and he fights the men around him who can see he's gone a little bit moon-eyed over this plan.
Just get those ships ready.
I'll try.
That's not good enough. Do we understand each other, Sergeant?
And if that sounds familiar, well, it should. It's the war lover with the romance filed off and the obsession turned all the way up.
You're destroying him.
He's expendable! Everything I say or do to him makes an impression on the other pilots and crews.
And it was made 7 years later on a tighter dime. And it was very tight. This thing has got the look of a made-for-TV picture that wandered into a theater by accident.
I thought you said this mission was a suicide raid.
Ah, yes. But that's no reason to miss all the fun, is it?
Which brings us back to that belly landing. The crew, they didn't shoot a new one. They lifted the famous Paul Mance crash straight out of 1949's 12 O'Clock High. Repainted a real B-17 to match the borrowed footage right down to the serial number, and that was pure fiction. And they bolted the one shot into the new movie. That's thriftier than a coon dog with one flea. There's enough recycled film in here to start a salvage yard. What keeps it off the bottom of the list, though, it's the bombers themselves. They were the real article. Genuine fortresses, properly turreted and wearing their war paint. Not a model on string. It's a bit melodramatic. There's a lot borrowed in this thing, but there's real aluminum in the frame.
Spit that up, you bums! Hey, look at that smoke! Oh, bloody good show, sir!
Desperate Journey from 1942 stars Errol Flynn and this young fella named Ronald Reagan, and they're punching Nazis across the whole of Germany. And that's this movie right here, and the director chooses it like the war is a Saturday matinee where the good guys can't bleed. The New York Times called it side-splitting, and that was meant as an insult. Audiences, they didn't care. over $2 million back in '42, and they loved watching the Allied boys make the Third Reich look like a bunch of stooges.
Sie kennen den Jungen nicht anrühren.
Now, here's a thing that the screen won't show you. Flynn, he went in for his draft physical right before this, and the doctors found tuberculosis in his lungs. And he hid it. I mean, he flat out hid it from the studio because he was terrified of an unpaid layoff.
You just take it. Just
I think the rest will do you good.
Yeah, we'll tell Josephine you're tired.
Between the sickness and the director's run-and-gun pace, that man wasted down to 165 pounds, and the wardrobe folks, they had to pad his uniform just to keep him looking like a leading man. There's a fella playing invincible on camera who couldn't have run a city block.
What's this cost?
And then there's the feud, which it's the part I love. Reagan, he gets the best scene in the picture. He's captured, and he distracts the Nazi interrogator with a flood of made-up airplane gibberish. Words like thermophoracal and then cold cocks him. It's just pure gold.
The daligator, which is amphillated by the thermothrottle and is made possible by its connection with the front coupling of the Durnodyne. Well, even at cruising speed, naturally, the canutus valhepulase is frenulated by the antimeter. Makes no difference. You could just be taken off.
And Flynn saw that on the page, and he pitched a fit trying to get that scene rewrote for him. He had a screaming match with the director behind a closed door over it, but the producer wouldn't budge, and Reagan kept the scene.
Snowing or raining, any pilot will tell you that the altitude, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 feet.
And Flynn, he soaked the rest of the shoot like a tomcat that got outmoused. The flying, it's mostly mock-ups and a borrowed Hudson. And the war, it's just a cartoon. But this thing moves like a house fire. All right, let me start with the man who paid for this film, because that's the whole story behind this one. George Lucas, you know the guy. He carried the Tuskegee Airmen around in his head for a better part of 20 years. And when he finally went to get it made, not a single studio would touch it. They said a picture led by an all-black cast, it wouldn't sell overseas.
Fighters, 4 o'clock.
They're not attacking. Let them go.
Let them go?
Our orders are to stay with the bombers.
So Lucas, he reached into his own pocket, dropped $58 million of his own dollars to make it, and another 35 to put it in theaters, and took the loss on the chin. Whatever you think of this movie, a man who'll spend $90 million of his own money to put a story he believes in on screen, he's earned the tip of my hat before the lights even go down. Now, the picture itself, these are real men. The 332nd, it's the first black fighter pilots America ever sent up, and they were escorting B-17s over Europe in P-51s with their tails painted blood red. And Lord knows, their true story, it didn't need a lick of help. Now the movie, it gives them help anyways, and it's not the good kind. The dialogue, it's cornier than Iowa in August.
Jesus Christ. They can't all be colored. One fighter group, all Negro pilots? I don't believe it.
What the hell do we do?
The Nazis sneer like silent film villains, and there's even this fellow who wakes up from passing out and announces, "I must have passed out," in case you weren't keeping up. Lucas himself said it's a popcorn movie, and it needs a lot of corn. And brother, he salted the feel good with this one. But here's where it earns its place. And here's the fight I promised you up top. Lucas built every dogfight in this thing on a computer. Green screen, gimbal-rigged cockpits, with actors who rocked back and forth by stagehands while the Mustangs got painted in later.
Get whistle!
It's the exact opposite of a picture you're gonna meet one rung down on the list. And I want you holding them both in your head at once. Some of y'all will tell me the CGI here, it looks like a video game. and some you're going to say, I grew up on it, and you love every single frame.
Lo tengo.
Now, I've got my own opinion, but I'll keep that one holstered a minute, because we're about to talk about the other way to skin a cat. But before we do that, I do have a question for you, and I want a straight answer from the Warbird folks especially. Red Tails, they built its sky with a computer. The next picture up, they did it with real iron and real sunlight. When you watch a CGI dogfight versus a genuine article, can you feel the difference in your gut? Tell me down below. I'll be down there reading every last one of these, and I think there's some other wingnuts on here who want to see how you feel. All right, let's get back into the cockpit.
Sieg Heil, mother.
All right, and here's the other way to do a film. Let me get the bad news out of the way first, because there's a fair amount of it. The script, it's about as subtle as a brick through a window. You got your invincible hero, you got your cartoon evil Nazis that might as well be twirling their mustaches.
You cannot win. I win. I win!
And the dialogue lands with a thud. So as a story, it's a 1980s direct-to-video tape that wandered into the wrong decade. But this is where you set your popcorn down, because Wolfhound, it did the one thing that buys my forgiveness for a multitude of sins. It told the computer to stay home, because there's not a lick of CGI in this flying.
Your job, and we all get home.
Hold on.
The fellow who ran the point on the aerials, he ran the dogfights on Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, and that man, he brought real iron to this flick. The B-17, it's the Yankee Air Museum's Yankee Lady, a bird that used to drop wooden lifeboats for the Coast Guard before somebody loved her back to military shape.
This is B-17 Yankee Lady to Spitfire and Hurricane. Please respond.
And the dogfights, well, those are actually P-51 Mustangs against a real Spitfire and a real Hurricane. And they were painted up with German crosses to sell the storyline about the German flying captured Allied planes as Trojan horses. You know, this little indie film, it was pulled off for under $6 million, which is about a tenth of what George Lucas spent building his dogfights inside a hard drive.
This is how we do it in Brooklyn!
Top Gun Maverick, that came out the very same year, and it had the entire Pentagon's checkbook behind it. This outfit, running on pocket lint and stubbornness, got some of the rarest flying warbirds on God's earth banking close enough that you can count the rivets. Money buys a lot, but it can't buy real sunlight glitting off a real canopy. Well, if you're still around watching this, then I guess the list's flown right for you so far. Why don't you do an old soldier a favor and go hit that like button? I mean, it costs you nothing, and it takes less time than 3 planes pretending to be 30. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe? This channel's gaining altitude slower than a fully loaded fortress on a hot day, but we're climbing. All right, back to the show. War Lover from 1962 stars Steve McQueen, and he plays Buzz Rickson. He's a B-17 pilot who's a hell of a flyer and a sorry excuse for a human being. He's a man who loves the war because he's got no idea what to do with peace.
There's only 2 things that mean anything to me: flying and women.
In that order?
In any order, or both together.
So you're enjoying the war?
I like my work.
And that meanness, it wasn't all acting. McQueen, he bullied his co-star Shirley Enfield so hard on set that during one scene, he threw her clear over the sofa and split her lip permanent. She bit his lip bloody on the very next take. And I'll tell you what, I'd have paid full price to watch that reel.
You can't make love. You're twisted. You can only make hate.
But aviation folks, they don't worship this one for McQueen. They worship it for the aviation coordinator, John Crewdson, who pulled off what still beggars belief. By 1961, flyable B-17s were getting as scarce as hen's teeth, so Crewdson scrounged a dead Israel fuselage for the cockpit shots.
Save your ammo. Save your ammo. And look, let's see a few hits today for a change, huh?
Then found one working Fortress hauling fire retardant and two more rotting in the desert as Navy cast-offs. He patched them together, bolted on surplus turrets, and flew all three across the North Atlantic to England.
That was pretty good.
A crossing so hair-raising, one of the pilots wrote a whole book about it. Then, through nothing but clever editing and swapping the nose art around, they made three tired bombers look like a whole bomber group.
All right, knock it off. Watch him! Watch him! He's moving around. Drag me out. 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
You remember that recycled belly landing that I flagged back at number 8? They folded the same kind of borrowed footage in here too, matching the paints to the old 12 o'clock high film so the seams wouldn't show. These movies been passed around the same crash like a covered dish at a church social for decades. And the stunt, the one Crewdson shot fresh, he flew a B-17 solo and dragged it across an airfield with the props a foot off the grass before he stood on the wingtip between two hangars. A bomber, solo. There ain't an insurance man alive who would have signed off on that. But sadly, during a bailout scene shot over the channel, one of the stunt jumpers went into that freezing water and didn't come back up. Yet the picture got made anyways, and the cult grew up around those three beautiful patched-together airframes. Unfortunately, a man had to die cold so it could.
Listen, you. When you've made a bomb big enough to kill Rickson, come back and blow up the world. Lay off those brakes!
You're not going to see a single dogfight in this picture. And you know what? That's the entire point. Command decision from 1948 is Clark Gable, as a one-star general in England.
A message from Washington saying you'd lost 48 ships yesterday.
That's right, 48.
Who had to keep ordering B-17 crews deep into Germany to bomb jet factories, knowing clear as day that those boys are going to get chewed up to pieces and some of them are not going to come home.
Well, did you happen to know whether Frank was married or not? Or whether he had any kids? Or where he came from? And you don't remember Red Johnston at all? You don't even know what he looked like.
Take it easy, son.
Well, why should you?
No glory, just a man in a map room who's doing the arithmetic of who dies today so fewer die tomorrow, while reporters and politicians are chewing him up.
Shut up. Do you mean to tell me he shut up? You're telling me to shut up when you're the one that's responsible?
Will you shut up? Can't you understand that some guys have to do more than talk?
It came from a stage play, and it kind of feels like one. Now, you know why it cuts so deep? The man who wrote this, William Wister Haynes, he spent 41 months as a real planner under Curtis LeMay in the 8th Air Force. He wasn't guessing at the map room. He stood in it.
An early estimate indicates that upward of 200 German fighters were destroyed. 48 of our bombers are missing. 48.
And then there's Gable. And folks, they tend to forget this. Gable was the real thing. After his wife Carol Lombard died in a plane crash, the biggest movie star on the planet, he enlisted and flew 5 actual combat missions over Europe as a waist gunner in a B-17.
Then at midnight tonight, I charged Captain Jenks with desertion in the face of the enemy.
Are you insane? Don't you realize there'd be an investigation, recriminations, press attacks, publicity?
If the Air Force can't attack what it should, an investigation may be a good thing.
He earned a Distinguished Flying Cross for doing it. Word went around that Goering had put a cash bounty on shooting him down, which had to make for a relaxing flight time. So So when Gable stands on that tarmac, watching the bombers lift off into the murk, the tiredness in his eyes, it ain't something a director coached out of him over a coffee break.
A few hours from now, they'll be fighting on oxygen 5 miles over Germany. Tonight, some of them will be dancing at the Savoy. And some of them will still be in Germany.
He had stood on those exact English airfields a few years before, watching real boys fly off, and not all of them coming home. The picture, it lost money, but it won the respect of every man who knew the doctrine.
Do you understand what I'd be justified in doing?
You ought to shoot me for wasting 520 boys this afternoon. I'd be grateful if you did.
I hate a man like you so much that I'm going to get your head down in the mud and trample it. I'm going to make you wish you'd never been born.
If that's all, sir.
I'm just getting started. You're going to stay right here and get a belly full of flying.
I'm sure by now you all remember the belly landing I've been dragging you back to since number 8. Well, here's where it was born, and it's just about the least of what this picture's got in it. 12 o'clock high is Gregory Peck as General Frank Savage, and he was sent to take over a hard-luck B-17 group in England that's bleeding men and morale in equal measure.
Well, I don't believe in hard luck. So we're going to find out what the trouble is. Maybe part of it's your flying, so we're going back to fundamentals.
His job is to be the meanest man on the base till those boys quit feeling sorry for themselves and start flying like a unit. And the price of doing it, it's the strain that eventually breaks him instead.
Stop it! I'm right here, Frank. It's okay. It's all okay. Oh, the tower! Fire! Where's the gate?
There's no girl, no glory, and no easy way out. It's a picture about what command costs the man who holds it.
Try and listen to me. I know what you're feeling. I know just what you're feeling. You think you blew it. What do you expect of yourself, Frank?
And the Air Force thought so highly of how true it rang that they used it as a leadership training film for decades. Generals learned their trade off of this film.
We're in a war, a shooting war. We've got to fight. And some of us have got to die. I'm not trying to tell you not to be afraid. Fear is normal.
Now, for the iron, because this is where craft meets just plain nerve. That opening crash, the Fortress coming in gear up and grinding to a stop right there in front of the camera, that's the great Paul Mann. Paid a record sum to belly land a real 4-engine bomber solo on a dry field in Alabama. So as far as anybody knew at the time, ain't nobody ever taken off in a B-17 with just one man and no crew, let alone set one down on its belly on purpose. Mance, he did both, and that single shot was so damn good, the movies keep stealing it. Because you saw its fingerprints in War Lover, you saw it in Thousand Plane Raid. One man's flying did stunt work in 3 different pictures across 20 different years. That footage outlived the airfield.
We mustn't go back. Easy with his right leg, it's broken. Got it.
But the part that earns its number 2 spot, it's the honesty. The air battles aren't all models and trickery. King wove in real gun camera footage shot by American crews and captured German cameras. Some of the first time an American picture showed our own planes going down through enemy eyes.
Birdwell got a direct hit, sir. He's going down.
The dedication that opens this film calls it the story of the only Americans fighting in Europe in the fall of '42, standing alone against the enemy and the doubters both. 8th Air Force men watched it and gave it their nod, which it's the only review that's ever really mattered.
Take a good look at me. If you or any man on this post passes me up again without saluting, even if I'm a block away, you'll wonder what fell on you. You might pass that word around.
Yes, sir.
I got him. I got him!
It's the rookies. They got the rookies.
All right, here's my number 1. And I know it's a Hollywood flick. I know they smushed 10 crews worth of stories into one and stitched a fictional last mission over the bones of a true one.
Terrible, left there at 11. She all over us in seconds. Danny, this guy's 7 high.
Spare me the comment about how the real Belle did it different. I've read the same books you have. I put it at number 1 anyways, and I'm going to tell you why, standing up. It's because this picture is hauling 2 ghosts at once, and it knows it.
I know that I shall meet my fate somewhere among the clouds above.
Oh, Lord.
Those that I fight, I do not hate. Those that I guard, I do not love.
The whole thing grew out of a 1944 documentary that Catherine Weiler's father, William Weiler, shot with real cameras on real combat missions over Europe. Footage so raw that when they screened it for Roosevelt himself, the president, he ordered into theaters right then.
This pilot's leg is not a pretty sight. Neither are the docks at Wilhelmshaven.
Never mind the usual channels, because he figured the country needed to see exactly what those boys were swallowing up there. That's the bloodline of this movie.
Ah! Come on, I'm here, buddy! Grab onto me! I got you, Roscoe! I got you! Grab hold of me! Come on! Come on, Roscoe, come on!
And the 1990 crew, they honored it the hard way. They rounded up 5 of the 8 flyable B-17s left in the whole world, ripped the chin turrets off the later models to make them look right for the period, and wired up the Sally B with pyro to throw fake flak and real fear.
Bombs away!
They built a whole 1943 base from scratch in Lincolnshire, and this thing nearly turned to tragedy for real. One of the French-owned fortresses lost its lift on takeoff in another bird's wake, went into a field, hit a tree in a gravel pit, and burned to nothing. Yet, all 10 aboard, they did walk away. That historic airframe did not. But the part that puts a knot in my throat, it's the real Belle herself. She survived the war, nearly got scrapped, and was saved by the mayor of Memphis, who bought it for $350.
You know how to take care of your man, and well, that's about the best thing a fella can say about any gal, I guess.
Then she sat out in a Tennessee park for decades, rotting in the rain, while souvenir hunters peeled pieces off of her like buzzards. It took the Air Force Museum 13 years of patient, stubborn love to bring her all the way back. They unveiled her pristine in 2018, 75 years to the day after the last mission. That's the story this movie is really about. What we owe the things and the men that carried us.
Oh my God, Jackson! Jackson! Ah, get back there and look at Jack.
I am 2 minutes from the bomb run, Captain.
Okay, Gene, take care of it. Hold still! Hold still! Let me know!
And how close we came to letting them rot before we remembered. This one is the one I'd hand a kid who asked what his great-granddad did, yet never talks about.
Luke's head! Luke's head! No, his ace is better! It's not me! It's not me! It must be you! It's not me! I think he's in shock! It's tomato soup!
And here's the thing about these pictures. The men who flew the real missions, they mostly came home and said nothing. They sat at the kitchen table and let the silence do the talking. So these movies, the good ones and even the goofy ones, they ended up being how a whole lot of us learned what our grandfathers carried. That's a heavy thing for a piece of celluloid to carry. The best of these carry it without spilling a drop. All right, lock and load, partners, and you keep the reels a-rolling, okay?